Before we continue with today's episode, I just want to introduce myself and say hi, I'm Jasmine, and welcome to Ebbs and Flows, a podcast all about how to navigate the straight and narrow road, because we are all trying to elevate in life, and sometimes because of trauma, because of unknown things, because of ignorance in our emotions, we don't know how to just drive safe. We end up crashing out on the side of the road somewhere. So this is a podcast all about how to get back in the slow lane and be okay with just cruising through the ebbs and flows as we journey to the end of the road. So without further ado, let's continue. There is danger in boundless provision. The recipe for self-created storms are lack of boundaries, perversion, and not knowing how to compartmentalize relationships on top of being disobedient to God. Your spirit never felt right about this situation. You got clear signs to turn around and don't turn back. Some of us got signs to never even enter, and we still continued forward. So because of perversion, we tried to fit things in categories they never belonged in. Perversion is the alteration of something from its original course, meaning, or state of being to a distortion or corruption of what was first intended. Perversion is you making this be something it was never supposed to be. And God keeps telling you to let it go. God keeps telling you to come out that mind state. God keeps telling you to fall out of love with that idea. And he's telling you that because there will come a point in time to which if you don't let it go, he's going to have to give you over to it so that you can see. Because you're the type that only learns through experiencing that thing, not just through analyzing or measuring it at the highest level. So he gonna let you go through what you're asking for in order for you to learn something from it and gain wisdom and knowledge and proper discernment so that you won't enter back into it again. And sometimes it takes us going to that cycle on a reoccurring loop, like we're replaying a song that make us sad. Have you ever been sad to where you play a song and you know the song gonna make you cry more and you put it on repeat just so that you can experience that same pain over and over and over and over again? Some of us purposely put ourselves through that because that's all that we know, and because we have this idea of how things are supposed to be, so we feel that's what we're supposed to experience. So we'll keep ourselves there. And then some of us have the mind state of, oh, I would not know how to deal with that, or I would not have this knowledge or this wisdom if I don't experience that firsthand, not knowing that you don't have to experience it firsthand for you to understand the effects of it. All you have to do is judge it correctly. God never told you not to judge. He said don't prejudge before it's time. You don't even have all the evidence. You haven't even seen it from every angle before you can judge this thing fully. So you're assuming, and you're incorrectly assuming, which is causing you to misjudge and mismanage what you are in. It's causing you to be in the wrong position and also build cases on people, which is what the enemy doing. You building a whole case on somebody and you don't even know the full story. You don't even have the whole jury. You don't even have the whole lineup. So God never said don't judge. He said don't prejudge before it's time. So you don't have to go in and experience something crazy for you to get the lesson. You just have to measure it fully and accurately from all sides and all angles to see, okay, this is the effects of you doing drugs. This is the effects of you getting into a relationship that don't serve you. Many of us can judge that just based off us seeing what our parents did. Some of our parents got health issues because of the toxic cycles that they stayed in within these relationships. Their life is never going to be the same. It's not too late for them to change their life. Let's always put that out there, because people think you get to a certain age and it's over. It's never over, but their lives will never be the same. They have to fight through something that they shouldn't even have had to fight through if they would have caught one quicker and took heed to God telling them to let that thing go. But because of trauma, because of ignorance, because of feelings, because of getting turned over to a reprobate mind, you stay in things that end up being at your detriment, and they do not pour into the longevity of your life. So God is saying, if you don't shift that mind state, if you don't take heed to my warnings, because that's what it is, if you don't fall out of love with that idea and that thing that you created, that self-created storm you put yourself in, if you don't fall out of love with that and thinking that's how it's supposed to be, I'm going to give you over to it so that you can learn that lesson firsthand, so that you can see, and then maybe you'll come up out of it. A reprobate mind is what a lot of us are asking for, and not out of our mouth. Of course, out of our mouth is like, Lord, I want better. Lord, I know that I'm supposed to be this woman. I'm supposed to be this type of man, and I really desire this for my life. Out of our mind, we saying all the stuff that makes sense, all the stuff that sound good, all the stuff that we're supposed to be desiring and deserving of, we're saying out of our mouth. But with our hearts and with our action, we being contradictory to everything we saying we want. So a reprobate mind is what a lot of us are operating in through our actions and through our heart and through the thoughts that we're allowing to flow through our minds, but out our mouth we saying something completely different because we desire different, and that's within us to want for a reason. God don't want us down here struggling and suffering. Most of the struggling and suffering that we're experiencing is from self-created storms and choices that some of us didn't even make. Some of the people that came before us made, and we still dealing with the remnants of. A reprobate mind is morally depraved. You lose all logic and morality in your reasoning, and you're giving over to irrational pursuits. You're sporadic in all of your ways. You don't even think deep about anything. All you can be moved by is this idea and this thought in your mind, and you will place yourself in detrimental situations just to turn yourself over to that thought, just to place yourself in position and alignment of what's going through your mind, just to keep yourself in proximity to that person, to that place, to that thing, even if it's almost about to take you out. You're going to do whatever you can sporadically and irrationally to keep yourself in that position, to keep yourself in that person's energy. Your irrational pursuits are destructive, not only to you, but to everybody around you. This is a reprobate mind. You fell so deep in love with that idea that you are willing to place yourself in detrimental situations to continue feeding that thought. You have accepted that as your reality. You have accepted that as your truth. You have accepted that as your portion. You're desiring and craving for it to be that. You're idolizing it. You're saying it has to be this or nothing. I don't want to start over. So it really gets to the point where you have to ask yourself, have I been turned over to a reprobate mind? Is it extremely difficult for me to think things through at the highest level before I make a decision? Am I sporadic and irrational in all my ways when it comes to this situation, to the point where I have placed myself in dangerous situations time and time again just to respond to that thought, just to respond to that thing, just to make sure I stay within alignment with what does not serve me? Y'all, some of these thoughts that we be thinking, some of these instructions we be receiving do not be God at all. It be your reprobate mind. Why are you still trying to place yourself in the environment of what tried to take you out? You were depressed over that thing. You barely could get up off the couch over that thing. Your mind was all over the place. You felt defeated. You gave up on life because of that thing. But because of the idea that you fell in love with in your mind, you're still trying to place yourself in the environment of what tried to take you out, almost took you out. You're trying to still respond to the needs of what is depriving you of what you need because of this idea that you have in your mind that says that you cannot live without that. That's a reprobate mind. And it's going to take you getting tired of being tired to the point where you about to give up on life before you finally say, I have to let this go or it's going to simply take me out. How many of our family members, friends, people we know from our bloodline have been taken out because of situationships, because of things that they fell in love with through a reprobate mind? Things they could not let go of because they didn't see their life without it. And now they didn't have a stroke. Their life is not the same. They have health issues. Their life is not the same. They can't even function or operate without being attached to that thing. And every time they try to separate from it, they turn back to their own vomit. And it's taught you to just settle because you seen your mama do it, because she didn't know no other way. How many of us have been passed down a reprobate mind? This is not just something that you just pick up. You can pick up a reprobate mind from your own situations, but most of the time it's passed down. Your mama thought the same way you thinking now. Your daddy thought the same way you thinking now, and your grandparents and your grandmama too. And how much of their life did they lose to that way of thinking? How much of their life, how much of their prime time, of their youth, of their golden years did they sacrifice for what depleted them and drained them dry? To where now they settling for manna and think that's all they can get from God. They can only get day-to-day blessings. They can't get generational blessings. They can only get day-to-day blessings or week-to-week blessings. They can't be blessed in overflow constantly. They feel like it can only come in seasons because they've accepted that idea or that thought and say that that is all their life can be. How many of us got passed down a reprobate mind and are still in a position that does not serve us any longer? And I know that it's hard to let go. Or so that's what we tell ourselves, because our souls are intertwined with other people. And all your soul is your mind, will, and emotion. That person got your emotions, so they got your mind. And because they got your mind, you doing whatever you need to do to keep up with them. Because they can energetically manipulate you because they got your emotions on lock. They got your heart. And because they got your heart, they got your mind. And because they got your mind, you gonna move and do and say whatever they want you to. Because they have a piece of your soul. And on top of that, you operating from a reprobate mind because you've idolized this thing and you've made it your life source. You don't even know how to pull from yourself. You always looking outside of you. Not knowing God is on the inside of you and waiting for you to pull from him. But you look into the wrong power. And that's why it's extremely limited. It's never enough. And you always feel unsatisfied and you can't keep peace to save your life. Letting go is a difficult thing. Because we mold and we shape our entire lives around these ideas, around these people, around these events. We mold and shape our entire lives around it. Because we have the gift of foresight. But having foresight can be a dangerous thing if you are not in alignment with your highest way of being. If you're not in alignment with the Most High. If you're not in alignment and receiving your order steps from God. Foresight can be a dangerous thing. Because some of these things that you have foresight for, you is never even supposed to be pouring into. I see who you can be. I see your potential. I pray that you can also see it one day. I pray that God take the scales off of your eyes, that you remove yourself, that you take heed to the instruction that God has given you so that you can remove yourself from these situations that's keeping you blind. But it's not my job to save you. It's not my job to force you to see just because I see your potential. Foresight is you seeing other people's potential and where they could go and what they could be. But it does not mean it's your job to save them and push them to getting there. And that's the dangerous part, because you're taking on everybody as your assignment because you don't know how to compartmentalize and you're not seeking wise counsel from the Most High. So you just out here leading yourself and placing yourself in self-created storms and in situations where this person can't even have vision for you. This person only has vision for who they currently see you as. They have no foresight as to who you're going to be. So they have no idea of how to build for you. They have no idea on how to prepare for the future when it comes to you. All they can do is keep you in the position that you are, standing as the person that you currently are, because they can't even see who you will become. While you seeing the bigger picture, having foresight and trying to force them to be better while depleting yourself as a whole because you standing outside of position. Every man, you get what you got foresight for. And you don't even know how to use it correctly because you don't know how to compartmentalize your relationships. So it's easy to pervert every relationship you've ever been in. That was never supposed to go past a business relationship. But because you lack boundaries, because you haven't dealt with the fact that you seek validation, you crave it, you desire it, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to be seen. You're supposed to. That's why you have partners. That's why you have loved ones. That's why you have people who affirm you on top of you affirming yourself, but you don't affirm yourself. You don't look in the mirror and see and love what you see. You haven't got to a position of where you are overflowing. What them people pour into you, the validation that you get from other people, the affirmation that you receive, that is simply a cherry on top and the overflow to your cup, not the feeling of it. And that's why God say, don't be out here being in sexual fornication. Don't be out here yoking yourself to people. Don't be out here moving outside of my divine law and principle, because you're going to yoke yourself to something who is going to deplete you and empty out your cup. And you're constantly going to be at a halfway mark instead of overflowing, when I never told you. I never told you to yoke up with this person. I never told you to pour there. Anywhere that I have you pour, you would be also poured into. It's overflow that I operate from, not lack. You've been keeping yourself in lack because you're out here using the gift of foresight for things I never ever told you to pour into. This person can't even have vision for you. They cannot see. Now you got two reprobate minds trying to lead. The blind leading the blind, literally. And because you are operating in lack, you're stepping out looking for somebody to fill you when you are filled already. Look up and see. Look in the mirror. Cleanse it off if you can't see clearly. You are everything to me, is what God is telling you. And if you can't see that, then you'll step outside begging people to see you the way that God sees you, and they never can see you that way. You constantly have to beg people to understand who you are, why you think the way that you think. You're arguing with people about your greatness. When God has assigned people to your life that will never even question it from the beginning, they'll have the gift of foresight just like you do. And y'all will be able to see each other at your highest level and pour into each other. And your cups will be overflowing. But you got to learn boundaries. You have to learn how to compartmentalize relationships properly. And you have to learn how to take heed, be obedient to where God is leading you, because he's not leading you wrong. But you don't know proper leadership. Because everybody that you have allowed to lead, you never measured at the highest level. They didn't even have the capacity to lead you. So they led you straight in a ditch, and now you don't like authority. Especially because you came from a background where you did not respect your parents' decisions. So your authoritative figures growing up, you couldn't even see the value in. So your authoritative figures growing up couldn't even lead you correctly because they didn't even have the proper lead. So you don't even see authority in the way that you're supposed to see it. And you continue to place yourself under the wings of the wrong authoritative figures. You didn't have a lot of experiences where you were under the proper leadership. And when you did get exposed to real leadership, you didn't even know how to accept it because you had never seen it before. You didn't even know how to let it lead you or to take heed to how God was telling you to accept it in your life because you haven't even accepted God's leadership fully. You still fighting him. And this ain't to beat you up. This ain't to make you feel no type of way. It's just to open up your eyes so that you can see and you can walk that path. It's straight and narrow for a reason. It's very simple if you know the way. So that's why we're here today, so that you can learn and you can understand the way. Because many ditches, as many turns, as many cul-de-sacs, as many alleys, as many back roads. But that does not mean that's always the way that you're supposed to go just because it look easier or look appealing or it seems appeasing. That's going to take you off course. Now you done added 15, 20 minutes to your journey that was unnecessary. When you could have got to your destination early and been kicking it. But now you showing up and you feeling like you late. Like you done missed out on something because you went in all these other directions that did not serve you based upon a reprobate mind. Spirit of perversion been running rampant in our community since before we was born. We have been forcing things to be what they were never supposed to be. Forcing it. You have to learn how to compartmentalize these relationships. Some of these business partnerships, some of these friendships were never, ever supposed to be personal. They were never, ever supposed to get intimate. Never. It was simply supposed to be that. And how many opportunities have we messed up because we did not know how to keep things in a proper position? Y'all wasn't supposed to be messing around with each other. That was a man that was supposed to come in your life and teach you structure through business. And you didn't know how to keep in this proper category. Neither did he. Every man that you ever been with has touched you. And because he has touched you, you think every man is supposed to. Even people in your own family touched you. So that further placed you in a position where you thought it was not normal for somebody to not approach you in that way. So the moment that they didn't touch you, the moment they was really keeping it professional, the moment it was really business for real, you found a way to pervert it. You ever had a conversation with somebody, it's not sexual at all, and all of a sudden you thinking about kissing them in their mouth? All of a sudden you thinking about taking it somewhere it's not supposed to go? That's the spirit of perversion. It's been running rampant for a minute now. And it was never supposed to be that. But we've been trained to think that that is how it's supposed to be. And it's not. That's why we keep getting in positions and messing up good relationships for temporary satisfaction. And because we're caught up in a reprobate mind, we be sporadic and irrational. And we jump to it without even thinking. Now you didn't ruin the relationship that could have been a lifelong partnership that could have benefited you for years and years and years and generations to come. But because of perversion, it got cut short. And you can't even turn back, and it can never be what it used to be. And it sucks because now both parties, it's not that you don't love that person. It's not that you don't care for that person. It's not that you didn't want it to go that way. Y'all allowed y'all mind, will, and emotions to get in the way of what things were supposed to be. And y'all were not paying attention to God or taking heed to any of his warnings, because he'll show you multiple times before finally everything have to burn up. He gonna take you through that fire and you gonna survive, but everything that's not supposed to be is going to burn up. That's why you have to lose people. You have to lose things. You have to lose mind states and ways of being. It's going to be put to the test of fire. What did God say? He said, hey, listen, I am not about to drown you guys this time. I'm not sending water back. None of that. I'm sending fire. Things are going to burn up. And whatever lasts is supposed to be. And what does not last, that was not me. That's no longer. You got to let it go. No matter how much you try to burn up with it, baby, you're going to come out with burnt skin and come up with scars. But you surely will not die because you're not supposed to. Something that you're supposed to be doing down here. The more that you hold on, it's just the more you're going to get scarred up, but you ain't going to go nowhere. That's not written within this stone. This is what's written. If you sit down and reflect, because listen, this is a season of letting go. So that you can move forward, because it can't go with you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Because I know that is not what you want to hear. And I know that hurt, because we be having ideas in our mind, our lives planned completely out to the T with these people in these places. We be having it planned out. So when God sorry, baby, you have to let that thing go. And you don't even understand why you have to let it go. It's conversations you did not hear. It's things that you did not see. It's things that you do not know. You got to let it go. And it's confusing you and it's making you feel crazy and you and your feelings about letting it go, because all you see is carnal. You seeing carnally. You seeing from your emotions. You are not seeing clear. And you're looking at this from the perspective of a reprobate mind. I'm trying to get you out of there. It's all going to make sense. But you have to trust me while it doesn't. Not just when it do. That's not faith. That's not love. Sometimes you're going to have to listen to your husband or your wife when you get married and you get to that point, if you're not already, and they say something that don't make no sense, and you have to trust them based upon your love, based upon that they've always been a man or a woman they were. That's not a good, that's not an easy thing to do. Oh, this is my husband, this is my wife, or this is my sister. Listen, this sounds crazy. I don't want to do this. I don't feel right about it. But because I love you, because I have faith in you, because I trust you, I'm going to ride with you. Because it might be something that I'm not understanding right now based upon my own perception of reality. Do you hear what I'm saying? So faith, love, and trust is okay, God. I don't feel good about this. I don't want to let this go. I see a life with it. I have an idea of it. But because I trust in you, and you've never steered me wrong, and you've always been a man of your word, I let it go. And I will trust in you no matter how I feel about it based upon my perception of reality. Because I could be looking at things completely wrong. And then later I'm going to be mad at you because I stayed in something that you've been told me to let go of. The lesson had to be learned. Don't mean the bridge has to be burned. It's still all love. But I'm not crossing over that bridge the same. I see what's over there now because I had to leave and cross over the bridge to look at it from the other side before I came back home. That's just what it is. Easier said than done. Okay? Easier said than done. Harder felt than understood. I had to reflect this morning deeply and let things go. And the process of letting go doesn't mean you're going to let it go all in that one moment. You're going to let it go. You're going to cry to God. You're going to repent about it. You're going to say, okay, Lord, I trust you. Then some memories and some thoughts going to come back up. You're going to see that person pop up on your page. Or if you still got to be around them within the same environment, it's going to constantly remind you got to let it go again. It's just like the process of forgiveness. But the more that you surrender to God, the more their energy will leave you. The more that you call your energy back, and you cover yourself in the armor of God and you say, God, cover me in spiritual hyssop, the more that they will be removed from your energy. The more that you say, I release this person with love and I give them back the energy that they gave me. I call my energy back to me. And I pray that they release me with love. The more that you do that daily and you really reflect, not just in your feelings, but on the facts as to what that was, how it made you feel, what it did to you, what it brought to your life and what it took from your life, you'll start to see why you need to let it go. Because most of the time you just caught up in your reprobate mind. You're caught up in that idea. You're caught up in that feeling. And that's why it's so hard to let it go. Because, oh my gosh, we did this together and this experience and this, that, and the third. But you're not even understanding. This took me away from God. This made me feel like a piece of me was stolen and shattered and broken. And I have to forgive them. This made me feel bound in ways. Because I didn't think I could do it without them or live without them. Because of what they were providing me. I idolized it completely. This taught me a lot about how to be a better woman, how to measure at the highest level, how to never settle, not from the beginning, not to the middle, not to the end, not to none of that. It taught me how to bring up my value. It taught me how to stand on what I know instead of letting people talk me out of it because I love them or I care for them or I want to appease them. It taught me how to break free of people pleasing no overcompensating. And it also taught me how to accept people for who that they show me they are, not just what's coming out their mouth, but who they show me that they are. It taught me how to take heed to God's warning so I wouldn't stay in something longer than it's time and end up breaking my own heart on top of breaking somebody else's. It showed me that love is not possession, but understanding, patience, kindness, gratitude. Gratitude. It showed me that I don't have to hate people to move on because it always took anger for me to do that. And then I could step out and be a victim and not hold myself accountable for the part I played in it because it was all choice. I could have left at any moment. It was all choice. I could have stood on what God was telling me at any moment. I didn't have to stay or appease nobody. Most of the time, God gonna tell you to do stuff that people don't understand. And you got to say, well, hey, sorry you feel that way, but I know something you just can't see yet, and that's okay. God bless you the same, but I got to make this move. I love you the same. So you got to sit down and you have to reflect on these situations. And I was reflecting this morning. I was just like, wow, God, I'm having provision for people that don't even have vision for the woman I'm becoming. They only have vision for the woman I am now, and they can only see what they can gain from me currently. They can't even see past that point. They had plans for me, but not plans for the highest me. They had plans for the woman that they met then. They had plans for the woman that they met in her brokenness. They had plans for that. And the plans that they had for me, they weren't even looking from God's vision. They was looking from, oh, okay, she's broken. She loose with it. She open. She don't really know her complete worth or her value. Let me try to dissect her and see how I can conquer her. Let me see what I can gain out of this, but not what I could give. There was no real generosity, only ego and power trips. Once people got to know me and they got into my energy and they see my heart, and then that's when it became, oh, wow, she's more. And I had to learn. What God sends you, it's going to have provision and foresight for your future. And it will begin to set up and build for you to become that. Your environment will change. The opportunity, even the dates they take you on and things that they want to expose you to will change because they want you to come up to that woman that they see you becoming, as well as valuing the woman that you are in your current state, not just trying to use that woman or abuse that woman or see what they can get out of it. The energy gonna be different. But that comes with boundaries, learning how to compartmentalize relationships, not allowing perversion to run rampant, and being obedient, taking heed to the warnings and the instruction that God has given you. He's ordering your steps. Your steps are ordered by the Lord. He will reveal them to you. You'll always find your way back home no matter where you go, no matter what road you veer off on, no matter if your GPS go out and you don't know where to go. You always going to find your way back. Yeah, it's going to kick in. The Holy Spirit going to speak to you. Your phone ever went dead and you had no clue how to get home, but all of a sudden you got there? You start paying attention and tapping in and breathing and not depending upon external things, and your critical thinking skills turned up. You tuned in. That's how you navigate the straight and narrow road. You got to get in stillness. You got to separate yourself from them external things and tap into your critical thinking skills. Your critical thinking skills is God. It's the Holy Spirit. You got to be still enough and pay attention and aware enough to think critically, to think from intentionality and awareness. You got to be in a different type of posture. But you're used to being sporadic and irrational based upon emotions and temporary things and external influences. When you sit still enough and you say, I ain't going to jump. Not yet. I'm going to wait. I'm going to be patient. Ooh, and God taught me that in my last relationship. Because that situation challenged me. It challenged my heart on the daily. It challenged my mind. It challenged a lot of me to where I couldn't just be sporadic. I couldn't just operate off emotion. I couldn't just go off. I couldn't just operate in an unhealthy way. I had to be still. I had to pray. I had to fast. I had to pay attention. I had to look from the lenses of God for real. And really depend on him and say, okay, this is why they acting this way. And this is why this person returned. And this is why they thought this was okay. And this is that and the third. And okay, I need to forgive that woman. I need to forgive him. Okay, you know what? I need to ask for forgiveness from me for the actions that I took. Like, it took me getting outside of my emotions, getting outside of being irrational, getting outside of being sporadic to really start thinking critically and divinely. For me to be able to navigate that situation in the most straight and narrow road possible, because it could have went down either way. We could have went to the back alley with it at any moment. I was with that. But I knew that was not God. I knew that was my emotions, my reprobate mind. The fact that this idea I fell in love with was falling apart. The fact that I was vulnerable and I was open. And when I first got in that relationship, I was broken and I had no clue who I was, what my worth was. I was all over the place, and I was being honest in my brokenness. I was inviting people into that brokenness. I was sharing parts of me that should not have been shared or exposed because it could be easily used and manipulated. And I was genuinely confused about what to do and where to go and how to handle this. In the moment where I said, you know what, I'm going to choose this and I'm going to really be about it, then something else popped up and showed me that it wasn't what I thought it was. And I still continued and still tried. Just to find out that it was most likely going to always be that. Because it was always around. And I was trying to understand it and accept it, but I was being naive and quite ignorant. And then I turn around and I got to forgive the people that I feel like did me dirty. When I was just trying to handle things in the most divine way, being vulnerable and how I felt, and trying to get everybody on the same page. But I can't force nobody to think like me or move like me. And I still have to take into consideration the things that I did that was not in right standing or divine. We ain't always going to operate that way. So the most powerful thing that you can do is step outside of your reprobate mind and ask God to fill your mind so that you can operate divinely and so that you can get out that unhinged mind state.